Hello, Trey. My name is Tom Jarvis. I'm from San Diego, California. And my question for you is, what do you see as the greatest national security threats facing America in the future?
China is bigger than all other threats combined. Not only is their military large and powerful, but we have too much interconnectivity and dependency on China. We need to make more of our own things and rebuild our military for non-traditional warfare. I'm not sure our Navy is where it needs to be, but let's don't ask a lawyer. Let's ask a West Point grad who also happened to be the director of the CIA and Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. So what do you see as our top national security threat?
Well, Trey, it's great to be with you. Look, you identified the Chinese Communist Party as that threat. That's true. It has many dimensions. One of them is at our southern border. President Trump is already engaged in putting real pressure on them, talking about putting tariffs on if fentanyl continues to come across our border from China. There's a lot of work to do to rebuild and restructure the strategic arm of our Navy, its capacity to deter our adversary in the Pacific. And then the Chinese Communist Party has a massive information and propaganda campaign being waged all throughout the United States, and we've got to confront that as well. I'm convinced President Trump understands this threat at a deep level and that he is building a team, including our good friend John Ratcliffe at the Central Intelligence Agency, that understands this threat and will protect the American people from it very effectively.
All right, Mr. Secretary, one could argue that among the big losers on election night would be Iran. What can and should President Trump do to ease the tensions in the Middle East and kind of put Iran on notice that their evil actions have to discontinue?
Trey, it's interesting. Again, in some ways, no one really even mentions President Biden these days because President Trump is the focus of the Iranian regime today. Not only the threats against him and some of his former senior officials, but in the Middle East, we saw a ceasefire agreement with Lebanon, between Lebanon and Israel. That wouldn't have happened, I'm confident, had President Harris become president, Vice President Harris been president. This happens because the bad guys know that the new sheriff is coming back into town. And I think President Trump will revert to the model that we had for 4 years, which was to deter Iran by putting economic pressure on them, an important critical tool, by putting true diplomatic pressure on them, by denying them the access to the things that they need so they can build out their nuclear weapons program, and then making very clear to our allies in the region, to Israel, our closest and most trusted partner, and to the Gulf Arab states, who are great friends and security partners for us. We're with you. We will not fail you. We will continue to support you. We all have a common threat from the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the United States is going to lead the effort to ensure that American lives aren't put at risk by that regime.
All right, Mr. Secretary, let's listen to the president-elect on Ukraine and Russia, and I'll ask you about it on the other side.
I will end the war in Ukraine, which would have never happened if I were president. I will stop the chaos in the Middle East. I will prevent World War III from happening. We've never been so close.
We didn't start wars. 79, 80 years. Everybody said, oh, he's going to start wars with his attitude. No, my attitude kept us out of wars. I stopped wars with phone calls. Russia should have never happened. With Ukraine, would have never happened if I were president. Would have never happened.
Can the war in Eastern Europe be ended without rewarding Putin, without Ukraine ceding any territory, or else it rewards him for his aggression?
Trey, undoubtedly this conflict can be brought to a conclusion. President Trump deterred Vladimir Putin for 4 years. We had a great record. He invaded, took a fifth of Ukraine under President Obama, not an inch for 4 years, and then went back at it again. When American strength is restored, good outcomes happen for good people, and that's the people of Western democracies, places like Europe, like our friends in Japan and Singapore. I am convinced that President Trump, he's now identified General Kellogg to be his envoy to Ukraine, has a theory of the case which will deliver an outcome that is just and fair, where Vladimir Putin sees that no longer will this aggression be tolerated. Will things be okay in Moscow, but not okay in Kyiv or risk in Warsaw? He'll restore the right balance. He'll demand that the Europeans do more. I'm convinced that they will because of President Trump and his leadership. And when that happens, when we put our allies out there and we support them, you can begin to deliver the very peace that the entire world is demanding and that the Ukrainian people so richly deserve, given all that they have sacrificed in these last now 2.5 years.
Mike Pompeo, with one of the more illustrious resumes, despite his youthful appearance, one of the more illustrious resumes in all of public service. Thank you for joining us on the Sunday night, and thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you, sir. So long.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.